Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Penny Lane podcast. Today, Blayne is going to talk about Apple and how she trades that on a daily basis. Justin is going to join in as Blayne goes through some of her strategies. And then we're going to be joined by Jason Spatafora, the Wolf of Weed Street, to talk about the benefits of trading a single stock. This episode is brought to you by Pennies Going In Raw. Make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on those notifications and find the Penny Lane podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever it is that you listen to podcasts.
The stock market is hotter than ever right now, and traders are taking advantage. But what does that mean for the people who still haven't started trading? The market can be a little intimidating at first, but you don't have to be alone in the learning experience. We at the Pennies Going In Raw podcast are here to help you. I'm Dan, and with my co-host Hugh Henney, we make the stock market a fun but informative experience for our listeners. We offer knowledge for all levels of traders, from beginners to those who do it full time. On PGIR, we discuss up-to-date news about the stock market and interview other traders who all started out just like us and made it big. You'll hear from Hugh and other multi-millionaire traders, founders and CEOs of companies, FinTwit superstars, and even professional athletes. Have you ever thought about investing your hard-earned cash but don't know where to start? Do you have money just sitting in your savings account collecting dust? We were all there once too. Listen to Pennies Going In Raw on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk Apple. Let's talk about the strategy that made you green for the first month ever.
All right. So,
how'd you come up with the strategy?
So, Jason Spatafora, the Wolf of Weed Street. Let me just start quickly with how this happened. So, started trading options only in 2022. No more commons. And I would say January was a real learning month. I had some highs and lows, but I was very scared of changing from penny stocks to options because I thought I would just take massive losses. And if I'm being honest with you, I did lose probably $9,000, which is a lot for me in January. It was the most I've ever lost in a month. So that did come to fruition.
That was your low point.
Yep. Well, no, actually it wasn't. So then February started and probably lost maybe 2,000, 2,500 more.
That's the low point.
But was doing my own trades, finding my own plays, gaining some confidence with options. I was seeing really the results. And I have done no Discord, no Twitter block. Remember when I did that before when I took a week off Discord and Twitter? So I did that on a Friday and was like, I want to prove to myself that I can do this. So turned off everything. It was just like me in the charts. I saw a really good play on AMD. I historically have a bad relationship with AMD, but it looked like a really good puts situation. So I took the play. I made 100% on the play, which is the first time I've ever taken my own play. Made 100%, was up maybe $700, like something fairly significant for me. And then I was in the Shark Tank, Shark's room, and he was on Slack at the time, and I saw a notification pop up that I had not turned off, and it said that he was going to take forward calls. And honestly, I was feeling so confident that I looked at the forward chart and it was flagging, and I thought, I'm up so much, like, might as well take this trade.
Okay.
So went in fairly heavy on that trade, immediately lost half of what I'd made that day on Ford. And then I saw another opportunity to buy AMD puts, which I did, and it just like really took off in the other direction. So I ended up that day about negative $200. And that was like the most rock bottom I've ever had in trading. And so it was negative $200. It wasn't on my birthday. I lost $4,500. Like, it wasn't really the monetary hit. It was the fact that I had followed my own plan, made such an amazing play, made so much money, and then took somebody else's play and gave them my power. You know what I mean? I was so broken and thought trading wasn't for me. I really thought that I was going to give up. Jimmy, my husband, walked in here, and I was just like in full sob, couldn't catch my breath. I ended up calling Shark, who was in the middle of trading as well, and he answered, and I was just like, I can't. I mean, it was 2 years of doing this, and I like thought that I had finally made it, and then missed that mark. And then spent the week, I talked to Ariel for a long time that weekend, and I talked to Jason Spatafora on the phone for a long time, and everyone was kind of giving me, I mean, everyone was like, don't give up, of course, but everyone was giving me kind of different advice. And I was on the phone with Jason outside of my best friend's house, walking in to meet her baby, and I said, if I can't do this on my own, taking my own trades, playing my own ideas, then I don't want to trade anymore. Like, I didn't want to go in someone's group and shadow trade. I just didn't want to. I'd come too far. So then he said, why don't you try to make $50 a day on Apple for 2 weeks trading options? And is like, crappy as this sounds, I thought I was better than that. Right? I mean, I've had $6,000 days. I've had $5,000 days. I've had $2,000 plays, like, regularly. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go backward like that. Did
you immediately realize it was not about the money, or did that take a couple days?
It took a little while. But I also was so much at rock bottom that I was like, you're not too good for anything, right?
Self-awareness.
And it took really, really hitting that rock bottom and having to admit to myself that there's a lot about trading that you think you're sort of better than the market. And no matter how many times you've been humbled, I think there's kind of a self-reliance of like, I can do this, I'm going to be okay. And you keep the whole definition of insanity thing. And I just had to admit, like, girl, you're not better than $50 a day. Like, $50 a day is better than losing $200 a day. So I said I could do it, and honestly, I was very confident that I could do it. And he was like, well, it's harder than you think. And I was like, well, I'm sure that it is harder than you think, but I was like, I think I can do it. So anyway, started trading Apple options and realized within the first day or two that had nothing to do with the money. It had to do with nailing the entry, because in the challenge you can only lose $25 a day. Like, that's a tight bracket. So I had to be extremely patient. I had to look for the perfect entry. I had to make this basically so I would get the entry, and then as soon as the stock popped even a little bit, I would put my stop right at entry. So worst case scenario, I would lose a dollar or two.
Tell me more about that. Do you stop at, like, so if you get stopped out, are you done for the day, or you're still working towards that 50?
You're still working toward the 50 as long as you don't hit $25.
Got it.
Loss. And I have to be totally honest with you. I did not always follow those rules.
Got it. Now, what happened on the flip side when you hit 50? Do you stop, or did you say, well, maybe another one?
I've never. I've never
Wow.
deviated from those rules. And we've talked so much about all my things with drinking, and I sort of know from what I've been through with drinking that you can't screw around with the rules.
Okay.
You know, I can't be like, oh, I'm not going to drink, but I am going to take 3 shots tonight, but like I'm not really drinking. Like that's a recipe for disaster. So
Right.
like I already knew you got to stay within the, what's the word?
Okay.
The rules.
The lines.
Yes. So, Jason was saying that in the way it worked, like you would go for $50 and you would hit 100. Like you didn't have to.
Okay.
It's just sort of the way the trade played out. Well, I didn't do that. I was just like flattening the trade at
Oh, really?
$51, and then I'd
Really?
get filled at 44, and I'd have to text him and be like, I swear to you I made 50, but like I got a bad fill because I was market selling out. Whatever. None of that mattered. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was hitting the goal and stopping and like keeping that $50 to go into the next day.
And never for another second did you ever consider or think about, well, could have made more, could have made more, could have made more.
I didn't.
That's good.
And the way I did it was, so I'd be at my computer at 9:30, and I would switch between the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the 15 minute, and I would watch that opening candle. And
Well, are you going to hop into the chart and show us that?
yeah, do you want me to do that now?
I say
want
we
to
hit
sort
it.
of, I want to kind of, yeah, I'll do that now. Let me see.
We need the technicals. I need to know what
Yeah.
to do. No one's above making money every day. It doesn't matter the amount.
Right. Okay. Guys, I am psyched about this nickname thing on TD.
Before we get into it,
Uh-huh.
what's next for you in April? Same thing, same strategy. You're going to get a little bit bigger, a little bolder, different ticker. What's the deal?
So, Jason told me that I've graduated from Apple. So I'm up now to $150 a day. So you go from 50,
That's a phenomenal number if you add that up over a week and a month. Like,
totally.
yeah, that's a
You
phenomenal
go-
number.
You go from 50 for 2 weeks to 100 for 2 weeks to 150 for 2 weeks to 200 for 2 weeks and then 250 for 2 weeks. And once you can do that, Jason said, like, you're set for life, because you're like, if you make $250 a day consecutively, you can make, $6,000 a day. It's the same principle.
Yeah, but you could also just make the 250 and be, stress-free, at peace, and feel a lot of success and be happy about it and be in a good mental spot. And if you're turning your nose at $250 a day, I don't think anyone is.
Totally. I mean, honestly, I think my goal would be to make $1,000 a day. That, like,
The century mark.
I'd feel very successful as a trader doing that.
Yeah, you'd
but
be rich.
I gotta just stay on this path. It's working, right?
Yeah.
So last week, Jason told me that I could graduate. Everyone wants to know. I have kids.
Junior traders.
Yeah. Everyone wants to know why Apple. And
Okay.
the reason is because the volume and liquidity is always very good on Apple. So you can get in, get out, market in, market out anytime you want. You're never going to have a problem with fills. All right, I'm going to share.
Which really sucks when you're trying to get, like, if you're trading common shares and you're trying to get out of a small cap and you just can't do it.
Yep.
It's pretty. It's not a fun moment.
You've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. Well, guess I'm going to be stuck in this one as it continues to fall.
I also want to say to everyone listening, like, I am by no means any kind of expert in this. Like, and if you guys want to ask me questions like,
We'll get
what's your
one.
risk to reward on every trade? I'm not sure I can answer it. There's a lot of things that I can't answer, but I do think that can give people hope in that if I can do it using just literally the dumbest rules ever, then anyone really can do it.
They're not dumb rules. Also, people window dress their rules all the time. So, is this your first time doing this little tutorial?
I did it last week when our guest was really late.
Got it. Yep. Sorry, I missed that. Okay.
Anyway, Ariel, if you're watching, I've got your watch list here. I don't know if this is your watch list or your scanner, but here we go. Okay, so Justin, I know you have to leave soon.
I'm gonna get through this part with you.
Oh, I think Jason might be watching. He just texted me and said, "You also choose Apple because if you can understand Apple, you understand the market." Thank you for saying that, Jason, and also let me lead into.
He sounds like Yoda.
Wait, do you follow him on Twitter?
No.
Oh, you should look him up right now because he'll like that.
Sounds like Yoda.
Look him up on Twitter.
Okay.
It's the Wolf of Weed Street. Okay, so VIX isn't loading because the market's not open, but this is my main screen that I trade off of. So you'll see we have SPY, QQQ, VIX. Now, if I understand this correctly, and I honestly might not, VIX is the index for volatility. So it's inversely related to SPY and the Qs. So if SPY is going up, VIX will oftentimes be going down. The rudimentary, just from observation, I don't know if that's right or not. That's just what I do. I have Apple here, and I have Microsoft here. So Microsoft, is that Hamill? So he just texted me that his son's middle name is Skywalker, and Mark Hamill named him. I don't know who Mark Hamill is. I'm sure I sound. Do you know who that is?
He is the actor that played Luke Skywalker and all that in the 80s. And what do you mean he named him?
Well, Jason's a big deal.
Shit.
I know.
Well, so is
right?
Mark Hamill.
Okay. Jason, I didn't know you were watching, and I'm nervous now that you are because I'm going to say some things wrong. But on we go. So, also, Jason, if you want to hop on, if you want to, I'm happy to send you an email. You can just text me. So anyway, this is my screen that I trade Apple on, and I'm going to take all those levels off so I can re-show you guys how I draw levels, and nobody taught me how to draw levels. I just made this up, and it's working. Anyway, so
I like that.
If VIX goes down, the Qs and the SPYs go up, usually. And you want to watch SPY and the Qs. Oh, he wants to come on. Cool. I will, on Twitter, send you an invite.
Levels are also they're very subjective, right? I understand that there's a right way to do stuff with demand zones and supply zones, and there's also tried and true, obviously patterns, that help you create specific levels. I get that. There's a reason all that stuff works. But also, your levels are for your trades. So it's not a big, it doesn't matter.
Yes. All right, Jason, I sent you a link. Okay, so anyway, inverse relationship, in my opinion. Also, this is elementary stuff, but SPY and the Qs are indexes, and Apple is a big part of both of those indexes. I think more so a part of the Qs. Therefore, if SPY is going up and Apple is lagging, then a lot of times I can see SPY pulling Apple up with it. It will sort of mirror that. And so I can hop into Apple sort of in anticipation of it moving with the rest of the group. I also look at Microsoft sort of for the same thing. And it works the opposite as well. Like if Apple is just ripping, then you can see SPY and QQQ also going up, and you can find an entry there. Like any sort of inefficiency between Apple and the indexes you can exploit for your trades. But that, I don't think there's any way to learn that other than just trading it over and over and sort of learning the nuance, or Jason says the heartbeat of the ticker. So I'm on 6 weeks now of only trading Apple, and I notice these things. So I'm going to show you guys how I trade levels. Guys, don't judge me. It's worked. I don't know.
I already gave the disclaimer.
I know, but I don't really know the right way how to draw levels, and I'm taking a chance here.
But again, like you're looking for little pops.
To it.
You're looking for little pops for, a quick gain.
Oh no. Oh no. I don't know how to remove all the drawings. Clear, drawing, set. Here we go. Okay, that looks prettier. So while I have you guys, the EMAs I have on here are, the blue one is the 9 EMA, the green is the 20 EMA, the yellow is the 50 SMA, and the white is the 200 SMA.
This is a 4-hour?
So I always have the 4-hour up here.
Okay.
This right here is called a Hull Wave, HULL. You can add it in your chart settings. Shark taught me how to add it. The Hull Wave is my favorite indicator. You can see on the right hand side on the 15 minutes, I don't even use any EMAs here. I only use the Hull Wave. It's totally transformed the way I trade. Now you can add any kind of indicators to your chart that you want, and some will work and some won't. You have to find what works for you, but this works for me. So what the Hull Wave does is when it is green, that is an indicator that the stock... Hi, friend!
Hey!
Thanks for coming on!
Hey, what's up, Justin? How are you?
What's up? Is that a Star Wars poster behind you too? Damn, that was I swear to you, that was not intentional.
Yeah, look, I got my whole office is Star Wars. Yeah.
That's wild. Blayne, that was seriously like serendipity.
Meant to be. MTV.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys are talking levels, huh?
Jason, I am, as my husband says, so out over my skis here and just trying to describe what I'm doing.
I don't think that's true.
No, it is. I feel like people are listening like, oh, Jesus, like, doesn't know what a level is. But anyway, I'm trying.
Neither do I. I don't
see.
Oh.
I'm not a technician. I don't chart at all. Like, period. I trade from my phone, and people find that they're like, "How do you trade from your phone? Like, how do you not get blown up every day?" Well, I don't.
Yeah, Blayne got bullied out of trading on her phone.
Yeah, by my friend AC. He was like, I refuse to take you seriously until you learn how to trade on the computer.
But also now, like what you're doing now, the way that you traded in March, you have to be on a computer for what you're doing, so it's fine.
I now
Jason doesn't think that's true, but that's
ever
okay.
trade on my phone. But that is because the second I lose on my phone between like looking at Thinkorswim and then going to the order input, and it's just clunky for me. And this is my ladder. I'm a massive ladder fan. It's really the only way I know how to trade. So you put in your order and it shows up here, and then you can click right here and it'll take you to the options chart, and it's very easy to set a stop loss on, and I have to have a stop loss too, but it allows me to scale in and out. I can't trade without the ladder, so I can't trade on my phone.
Which chart are you looking at to plan your entries?
Okay, well, thank you for asking. Justin, don't you have to go in a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I like the honestly, I like the 4 hour, because when it comes back down and touches this 9 EMA, it's such a good entry. So I look at the 4 hour, then I look at the 15, and then I'll go down to the 5 and look at the 5, but then you can like really nail an entry on the 1 minute if you're using this whole wave thing. So
Cool.
What I was explaining about the whole wave is the whole wave can help you grab a reversal, because when it's green, that indicates that like it's going up, and then when it turns orange, it's a sign that it's going to pull back some, and then the red, it does pull back. So the 1 is like very, very accurate for that. And then it's...
I want to ask you a question. You're going to kill me. That color indication, is that a function of price action or volume?
Why?
Okay,
Why would you,
all right, fine.
I have no idea.
You know what? That's a takeaway. How about that?
When it's green,
It's
it
good.
means
I get it.
go.
Don't overcomplicate it.
Stop.
Orange is slow down. Red is get the hell out.
It's a
All right,
traffic
fine.
light system.
You know what? This is a good lesson in don't overcomplicate trading. Just go with the color.
Just
I'm fine with that. Okay,
there are
keep going.
no more
Sorry.
questions.
You want me
for
to leave? I'll leave.
No.
I keep going.
I don't want you to leave. But look right here, what a like gorgeous trade this is on the whole wave. If you had caught this right when it turned orange, you could have ridden it like all the way down. That's a gorgeous trade,
It's a big move.
just based on the whole wave. And then when it starts to turn green again, you just get out. It's like trading for dummies.
So you're looking at this chart, perhaps on the 1 minute, and then you hop over and you look at the ladder, and then you enter your entry points.
I just said, so here's my options chain, which you can detach. Thank you, Ariel, for teaching me how to do that. So you can detach that.
Tricks of the trade.
And then, you can change it here on how many strikes you want to see. And
Okay.
I always, trading for dummies, keep it simple. I always, if it is Monday through Wednesday, Jason, I always buy the at the money
Okay.
contract.
Okay.
Right. You don't buy
Which-
you don't buy weeklies on Wednesday if you're intending to hold overnight, because if you get headlined on Thursday, you're dead.
Or inadvertently holding overnight.
Um,
Got it. Cool.
Jason, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So someone asked me on Twitter, if I'm going to buy the 175 put here, what's the advantage of buying the 175 over the $0.50? People said there's an advantage to buying a whole number.
I don't know. I always buy the 175.50, or no, I always buy the 175s, or it's 172.50 or 177.50.
So $2.50 is that psychological level.
Yeah, it's that it's beat into everybody that's trading Apple and then also trading the options, which is going to spoof the algorithms and everything. So yesterday I bought April 8th 172.50 calls. I got out of them, but those have, like that call was a really good one for a very long time, and so was the 160, the 150, because when you have to, so like I don't do all of the charting. I watch the tape. Okay, so as I watch the tape, I can understand the price levels by watching, for days sometimes, sometimes even weeks. Just how, the speed at which shares are being bought, um, and the size, and when it starts to slow, when it starts to gain momentum. Basically, I'm baking into my head, where the supports and resistance are. But for what I'm doing and what I wanted Blayne to do was just play in between, right? I call it pizza by the slice, right? Your volume business, because sometimes I'll trade Apple, sometimes I'll trade the SPY. There are days when I make over 100 trades on the SPY, trading like 5, 10 contract incrementally. And if I get to 100, that means that my success rate is like 80% because I keep my stops, when you're kind of scalping, like my stop is 15 cents, on 10 contracts, that's $150. And now people will say, well, that's not a lot of money. Okay, well, my target is 15, 20 cents or above. Now, do that on 10 contracts 100 times. It becomes a lot of money, and I think that people, yeah, I think that they overcomplicate things. You're trying to buy a hamburger on First Street, and you're going to walk to Third Street and try and sell that hamburger for, $1.20, $1.50. It's the same thing in the market. You know, especially new traders, their inability to judge, like, hey, there is actual money here in front of me, and I just need to pick it up. And if you can normalize taking profit, all of a sudden you won't even realize it, but you'll start protecting profit. And that was the whole exercise with Blayne, right? She's struggling. She was like going after this ticker, that ticker,
Yeah.
and I was like, stop. I was like,
Keep
stop.
it
We're going to
simple.
do longer dated options. And I was like, okay, I can't stop you from trading volatility. So we're going to start with Apple because Apple's going to give you a better sense of how the market is going to move. It's going to teach you things about the SPY, teach you things about, there's going to be cause and effect based off of Apple and the SPY. It's basically dominoes. And
Effort and result.
exactly, and hopefully she's doing the other part that I told her to do, which is take 50% of those profits and put it into a distressed sector, and buy stock. That way you don't gamble it.
Jason, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm only on level 2. We got to
Yeah,
get
no,
to
but you
level
have to,
5.
but you have to do that every day because that'll keep you from, so you're at $150, your max losses. It's really 75, which, I say 50 to kind of, make you a little bit more diligent, but it's really 75. Um,
Mhm.
you shouldn't be losing 75, but if you lose more, that means that you took on more size than you should have, and I want to keep you from doing that, and I want you to preserve these good days because you had a loss last week. It was like 2 weeks of $50 profit,
Yep.
and you could.
But so my strategy has been to trade the same way, but to buy more contracts. And I think that
You're
I
not
have
there yet.
made a mistake.
You're not there yet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Justin.
Love you, Justin. I appreciate you.
I'll watch this on YouTube later, right? You're gonna put the whole thing plays
yeah.
back on YouTube. I gotta learn
Yeah.
something this
Well,
afternoon.
I'm like the like they're bringing in the lefty.
Here he comes. Justin, good luck.
Call to the pin.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have fun.
All right,
See ya.
later, bud.
Bye.
So yeah, I mean, completely impromptu. You caught me. I was supposed to be speaking at a conference today,
Ooh.
and yeah, I messed up. So I'm not. Oops. But anyway,
Wait, did you like mess up the date or something?
yeah, I was supposed to call them and
Uh-huh.
like call them back because they had asked me, and I was like, yeah, I'll come speak at this conference. And then I messaged them yesterday. I was like, hey, what time am I on this panel? And they're like, you never got back to us. And I was like, oh shit. So
Well,
so yeah, look, and this is going to be good because I know a lot of people are following, the Apple challenge. I know a lot of people in True Trading Group are, effing bombarded me with like, okay, can you do with what you did? And she got a little bit more attention because, like we've been friends outside of this, but yeah, look, if you so what'd you make yesterday? Like 150, something like that?
250.
250. So you take 125 of that and buy stock. You know why?
So,
I'll tell you.
uh,
Oh, go.
I'm so I'm struggling kind of with I've got 3 accounts, and this is my by far my biggest account that I'm using to do this. But I'm concerned about buying long-term holds in this account only because my confidence is coming from just doing the trade and closing it out. So I'm wondering if I transfer this money into my E-Trade account and do that in there so that can fluctuate and won't screw with my mentality.
No, I'm going to explain why because that's actually part of it. So I'm. Justin was saying that he sounds like Yoda, right? So I'm going to tell you why. All right, and this is something Yoda would do because I'm into Star Wars, as you can see from behind me. The reason I want you to buy it in your option account, okay, in your
Uh-huh.
account is, um, so say, all right, so you made $250. Let's say you buy 10 shares of Frontier Airlines, which is like $11 a share, okay?
Okay.
Transportation is a distressed sector. Eventually, it's going to rise, okay? So that $125 that you put in Frontier 6 months to a year from now could end up becoming $250. Plus, you get a dividend, plus, you get long term capital gains. The other thing that you do is you're not gambling that money, right? You're not going to try and buy more contracts and then you're going to feel like all distressed, like I could have done this with that money, I could have done that. But getting back to the Yoda part, when you open your account the next day or a week from whenever that trade was, or maybe a month, and you're looking and you're like, oh, look at my Frontier Airlines stock. You're going to remember what you did right on that trade, how you could have done it better, and you're going to turn this account into a video game where the part of your process is acquiring free stock, okay? And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. If you are, um, hold on, buddy. If you are making this trade and being successful, you have to understand there's somebody on the other side of the trade that wasn't successful and they paid for your stock, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And one, if you're buying good companies in the long run, one, it's going to help boost your margin, as you get to PDT. And, it's also going to give you an understanding at how a different stock moves without you even trying, because there's going to be this muscle memory of you watching this stock without even trying. And if you decide that you want to take a bigger position, you can, because you'll understand its levels. So I did this during the summer of COVID because I was trading high volatility, and I put half of my money into airlines, banks, oil, um, and like Walgreens, Rite Aid, Budweiser, all these things that nobody wanted to buy. And it was the smartest thing that I'd ever done in my account. And if I could go back and give myself, any piece of advice from when I had my day one, it would have been to do this. Um, and I look back at some of the trades where I just made really ego-driven trades. Like I did one on U.S. Steel after having like this massive month, making 300 and something grand trading U.S. Steel one month, only to give back 250 of it in a 45-minute span. If I had taken that money, half of that money, and put it into Apple in the same time period, that position would be worth 750,000. And this is what you need to train yourself. Your whole goal as a trader is not to be a trader, it's to be an investor. And that gets lost in the glitz of like that dopamine hit of doing trades. So like yesterday, I traded the shit out of Tilray. I'm not a fan of Tilray, but Tilray just bought me a ton of stock for my long-term ideas. And ultimately, those trades will be worth more than the entire profit that I made yesterday. It's a lot to take.
It is. It is. So if the market tanks and I open up my portfolio and it's red, you don't think that will mess with me mentally?
No.
Okay.
I started buying Exxon when it was $40. I bought it all the way down to 32. Do I care right now? If you're buying good companies, the market, will respond, right? Eventually we get out of this slump. Like, did anybody think that all of the airlines were going to go bankrupt? That we were going to be like driving everywhere or taking a horse and buggy? The problem with newer traders is they think, day to day, week to week, month to month. All right. When you get past that level of thinking, you're not thinking in terms of 1 month or 6 months or 1 year. You're thinking in terms of 5 years. Because we're going to be doing, what you have to understand is we're going to be doing this for 30, 40, 50 years, some of us. So think about all of those good companies. Like I have people in True Trading Group that are in their 60s and they own Apple since $8. They own like IPOs on AMD, Nvidia, all these things. That's where you make your money. You make your money by investing. The more you trade, it's like jumping out of a plane, right? You jump out of a plane once, your chute is going to open. You jump out of a plane 1,000 times, there's a much greater chance that you're going to have a malfunction. It's the same thing with trading. If you trade too much and you try and grow too fast, you blow up. And that's part of the whole process of you moving from $50 to $100 to $150. It's to break you of some of those things that you're going to encounter, but on a more condensed timeline.
For sure. I could also really, really see the value in if let's say I only bought 5 stocks. That's just to start. I'm just going to invest in these 5 things. Then I would know, obviously, if it was like at a key support or if it was like coming into a big resistance. So even if I own the stock, I could buy puts that day, right? Because I like know that stock so well. So you're kind of making money on both things.
Yeah, my son is like a bull in a china shop. Here, go to the room. Here, you can play with it. He really is a bull in a china shop. He's so funny. Yeah, during different parts of the year, that's the only thing. Look, the company that I traded the most in 2021 was U.S. Steel. It was U.S. Steel. Um, it was a lot of infrastructure, and maybe Roku, um, and the Spy. But mainly U.S. Steel. I stuck with one company. You stick with one idea because look, sectors are like seesaws, right? One's going to be up, one's going to be down. Now we're seeing all materials, anything that comes out of the ground is up. We're seeing tech slump. So your job is to get on the bottom of the seesaw and then move up. And then while you're moving up, another sector moves down. And while you're taking profit up here, then you can move to this side. And then you're
Yeah.
doing this. But then your account goes like this. So I always think of I call it the seesaw trade. Your account grows so much faster, right? Um, look, options, honestly, if I could go back and never trade options, I would never trade options.
Interesting.
Because I never needed options to make money. I've lost more money trading options than I ever lost investing in companies, and that's by a huge margin, a huge margin. You know, and that's a thing. I've been trading options for basically an Olympics now, like 4 or 5 years. And every, every quarter, every 6 months, every year, I'm still trying to improve my craft because it is so difficult. I'm coming up with guardrails for myself every single day, um, because it's tough. And, all it takes is that one time, where you take too much size and you get just annihilated, like on a headline, on something that you weren't anticipating, or when you're fighting a trend, right? And yeah, options are a great way to grow your account, and I fully endorse that. But when you're doing it, okay, you have to be 10 times more patient, um, and cognizant of the risk while you're doing it. Because the worst thing that happens is you start trading options and you start making money, right? Like everybody that started trading options during COVID, they were like, this is so easy. Their accounts went from 2 grand to a half a million, because we just got this crazy run into 21, and now they're giving it all back. They gave it all back in the first month of this year, and now they've got huge tax bills and they have nothing to sell in order to pay those bills, so they're fucked. They're completely
Yeah.
screwed. Instead of think about it, if they were directing half of those profits to good companies or good stocks back then, they'd have long-term capital gains on those positions. Those positions, which swelled up, are super profitable. Even still, they can sell those, they get banged for 15-20%, whatever bracket they're in, and and then they'd never repeat that again. you know
Yeah.
so unless you're paying quarterly, which I'd say 99% of traders don't pay their taxes quarterly, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, or you're going to extend your bill till October 15th or whatever it is. Um, I've just seen a lot of people get in these dangerous situations playing options because, they get rich on a screen and think that it's going to last forever. And I'm sure a lot of we know a lot of the same traders, and I know so many of them are blowing up.
Yeah.
You know,
It's been hard. Yep.
yeah, it's been great for me. Um, because like now a lot of new traders, they're like, oh shit, I actually need a plan. you know. So it's been great
Yep.
for my business, um, but also like, you know, knowing what you're doing and having like very specific skill sets is important. It can't just be, hey, we're just gonna, there's a volume spike. You know, like I don't trade small caps. I think small caps are the most dangerous thing for traders. And you only see on Twitter people, oh, I killed it on this, like cheerleading. You don't see all the people that are getting destroyed because most people don't want to talk about getting destroyed. And the people that are vocal about, you know, getting destroyed, um, put blame on the person that gave them the idea, which they shouldn't do. And
Yep.
they really got destroyed. You know, so it's a lose-lose situation for these people because they don't want to admit that they didn't have a plan, and they also don't want to take responsibility for something going pear-shaped.
For sure. All right, well, maybe we start that on Monday.
We'll see.
Okay. Do you want to go over these levels and well, do you use levels?
No. I mean, I can.
Okay.
I can look. I eyeball them. Like my mutant stock trader gift is remembering price action. That's it. You know, like if you ever see like if I tweet, because I only tweet percentages. I don't tweet P&Ls. Sometimes you'll see like one share, right? And usually I buy that one share where I entered, just so I have you know, a marker. But there's some stocks that I just keep in my portfolio, not like in my options portfolio, not to invest in, but just so I'm always looking at them. You know, like Apple, SPY, a couple of other things, like, you know, if I'm trading energy or something specific. But yeah, I mean, it's that 172.50 level is important. Next one's going to be 175, obviously, and then 176, right? So if we see 176 break on Monday, that could be good news. Honestly, I think we need to retest 460, 462 on the SPY to kind of confirm this. But on the SPY, it's going to be 456, which is where we had that gap up. Um, I I will probably start buying puts if we gap up to, you know, or if we get over 455, and fully intending to, you know, possibly take a beating of $5 in the process. But the way that I'm going to, you know, fix that is by getting time,
Yep.
and you know, staying active in the trade, because there is going to be a lot of distribution next week. Also, we have the Fed minutes, which come out, I believe, on the 8th. So we're going to learn about the tightening, and basically the balance sheet runoff, which is going to spook the hell out of the market if it's negative. I mean, you know, the Fed was already hawkish, and what a lot of people didn't understand was, oh, you know, like where the bear market is done, right? And this kind of shows the inexperience, even to some of our friends on Twitter. You know, we were going into the end of the quarter where mutual funds, hedge funds, family offices, and everything need to have exposure. And then they say it's called window dressing. So they're like, oh, look, I'm buying this company's ripping. Look, I own this company. They get rid of some of their risk. And then they sell at the end of the quarter. They still keep most of the exposure, but they're like, look at how good we did. We caught this whole move. And then you see, you know, the 31st, everybody start blowing it out, which was probably the easiest trade of the year. You know, the last 2 days has been honestly my best 2 days of the year. I was in 460 puts for April. And I was getting range. So if I basically look from top, my entry was $5. If you take a look at my repositioning, it was almost like I got 15 on those contracts because I had like a ton of insurance going into it. Um, so yeah, and everybody was like, "Oh, we're going to gap up tomorrow," and they were saying this, on Thursday. After that, no, it was never going to happen because they don't understand the function of some of these funds. Like I'm talking to guys that are at these investment banks running portions of, whether it's 5 billion, 30 billion or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we juice the stats for our quarterly bonuses. And a retail trader doesn't understand that because they don't have access. They're not, like talking to these people. And some of these people I know, like, they're like, watch, it was the end of January, and they were like, watch Bed Bath and Beyond. They're like, do you buy Bed Bath and Beyond? I'm like, no. They're like, buy some. It's like $12. I was like, And I was like, oh shit, this is what they're talking about. So, yeah, look, we still have a lot of risk out there in the market. I'm one of my strategies right now is don't fall in love with my conviction ideas, because like being short the SPY the last 2 weeks has been tough. Obviously I've been using the range to limit risk, get into a better strike, but there's still a lot of stuff in front of everybody,
Yeah.
and we can still drop,
Well, we're in a war, and there could be another, or not we.
Yeah.
A war is going on, and there could be another COVID wave. Like we don't have any guarantee that COVID's like over.
Yeah,
it's two massive things just looming. Other things as well, but
yeah. So yeah, you had the yield curves flip on Friday. You've got energy prices that are going up. Now, yield curve flipping doesn't mean a recession tomorrow. It's usually a precursor to 8 to 18 months, whatever it is. And then yeah, we have all this instability, not just on oil, but on rare earth elements. Palladium, copper, zinc, steel, which is going to put, it's dominoes. It's going to put constraints on specific industries all the way down the line. I see it in construction. Not that I'm in construction, but my wife's a civil engineer. And they see it with some of the stuff that they're doing. Like, hey, getting cement is tough, so there's going to be trades there. And we're entering this period of like stagflation,
yeah.
So yeah, like it's great to be cashed up. It's even better if you're just one and doneing it every day. Like take your money and then see what the setup is the next day, because from one day to the next, like like how many times have people been in puts or been in calls and they're like open the markets, and then all of a sudden 8:30 happens, and then you either get some economic data or you get some news out of like Ukraine, like, oh, peace talks are going great, and then your puts are screwed or your calls are screwed. It's so much better if you can just kind of get into the market at 9:30 or whenever, with a clear head,
Yep.
and that's something really important right now, because honestly, like you could have, like I had a great week last week, next week could be a complete nightmare, and always assume that the next week or the next day is going to be a nightmare. It'll make you protect the day before a lot more. So
For sure. Well, so the I think the good news for people who are asking questions about what I've been doing with Apple is none of the broader economic or market stuff. I don't even think about it. It doesn't matter to me
It's great.
for what I'm doing, which is for like literally trading with training wheels, because I don't have to think about that kind of stuff. The only thing that I'm very, very wary of is FOMC days,
Yeah.
right? Because that's a good way to lose a lot of money if you're trading prior to the meet. I've personally just
Yeah.
lost money
Usually,
on doing that.
yeah, usually like FOMC days, I just take the day off. That's the best bet. Like, you want to make money, don't lose money.
Yeah.
You know, like I always wear a Britney Spears shirt on FOMC day for whatever reason, and um, and then yeah, I just wait because Powell could say something. Like I was actually in the last FOMC. I was in Apple puts, and the minutes came out, or the notes came out, and it was super hawkish, and my Apple puts just flew, from like $4 to like $6, and I was like, oh damn, I sold too much. And then the presser started, and I was like, oh, we're getting a little pop, and I started adding, and I started adding, and then Powell said, we think that the economy is strong enough to stop a recession, and I was like, yeah, but he was so hawkish, and the market ripped, and Apple never looked back. So I turned a monster trade into a revenge trade where I ended up losing like $17,000. So yeah, basically I'm just not doing FOMCs anymore.
Trading FOMC days is like an earnings play.
Yeah.
Almost. Like there's ways to do it well. I have done it every wrong way. It took me a little while to understand that the first move is the fake out move,
Yeah.
and that is for expert level.
Yeah, I like the way that if let's say you just want to do it, right? Here's an easy strategy, okay? You do a strangle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the SPY is, and we'll just say 455, okay? So you could do one, you don't want to go same day option. Give yourself 2 days or 3 days, all right? So you do a 457 call and a 453 put, when it's 455. Now, you're going to lean more bearish or bullish, right? In that sense, if let's say I'm more bearish, let's say I add 2 contracts. So I buy 7 puts on the bear side, and I keep 5 calls on the bull side. And then and then you kind of see after that first move, typically what I'll do in that situation is, if let's say we get a spike, right, and it goes to support, okay, call it, let's say 458. Let's say it rips to 458. I know that 458 is going to be a resistance now, okay? So I'll sell half of those calls, all right? And if I see it fading, maybe I add to the puts. And if we get back to 455, then I'll sell my puts, or most of those puts. And, just to kind of seesaw and like take advantage of the volatility. Because there's been times that I've done the strangle, and I sold my puts for like 20%, and then my calls ended up being worth 100%.
And that's the reason that's tempting.
Yeah.
But you could screw that up
You could get
so easily.
Well, the way that you screw it up is by not having enough time, right? Not having enough time and not taking on too much size.
Or getting greedy,
Well,
right?
that's
Then your
every
20%
day. That's every day in
goes
the
to
market.
I mean, you just think like this is going to go a little more, and then you lose that side of the trade, and then the trade, I would get greedy. That's my biggest weakness.
Yeah, and that's why you take half of the money that you made after you take it and you put it in the stock. I mean, look, if it's good enough for me to do, it's good enough for everybody to do. Because, so like yesterday I was trading Tilray. So I bought calls Thursday before the bell. I bought $58 calls for next week. They went from 66 to 93, which is pretty good, you know? And then it came down, and I was like, oh shit, it's giving me another shot. So now that money, and I don't know, it was like, I made like $1,200, $1,100 on that. Now that $1,1200 is my insurance. So I was like, okay, I can take bigger size. So I took 140 contracts and got them 6 cents cheaper. So I paid 60 cents for them. And those ripped. Those went like 59%. Then I bought puts. And well, after I bought that 140 and cashed out, I ended up buying stock because I don't want to get too crazy. And because I only bought half the stock, it dropped down again after I got the puts. So I only got like 50 puts, and then it dropped. When it dropped down again, I sold the puts, and then I bought calls. I didn't buy 140 calls, right? I only bought 50, you know. And then the 50 went up, and I only took 20% on that. And I tweeted, I'm like, this is too easy. I'm gonna get taxed on it. My hand's gonna get caught in the cookie jar, right? The thing was like $8 again. End of the day, it sold off to like $7.40. If I was still in those calls, which if I had 140 of them, I most likely would have stayed because I had size. And when you start dropping like 10 cents and you've got big size, it's painful, you know, because you're looking at it as like every 10 cents on 100 contracts is $1,000.
Yep.
You know, and then all of a sudden you drop, 20 cents and you've given back, half of the profit from your trades. Now you won't do that, okay, if you diverted that money already to something else. Because now you're protecting your profit, and then you're also viewing it as like, I don't have that much money to use because I've already spent a bunch of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's these little things that are going to keep you from really getting hurt in the market.
Yep. I really have heard so many people call it bulletproofing your account. I really like.
Yeah, they probably got it from me.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But now it's a catchphrase. You're trending.
I mean, I created the term. I coined the term unicorn. A lot of people don't know that I coined the term unicorn in like 2013 for stocks, and now everybody says unicorn. This is back in the days when I used to trend on Twitter. Now I'm an old man.
But now you're trending because everyone wants to know about the Apple thing. You're trending.
Am I? I don't know.
I think you're trending. Trending.
Look, I always look at it like this. One, guys, I was an English major. I was English and creative writing. Okay? I barely graduated high school. I was an athlete in high school and college, and then after college, I had another job. I fell into investing, right? I'm air quoting. I've lost a lot of money, okay? I've lost so much money that you guys don't have to. I've already made all of the mistakes that you guys are going to make. right? So everybody says, "Oh, I wish I had a time machine," right? I let me be your time machine. Let me be your time machine, because and the only fee for this said time machine is one day, if you're wildly successful, you hire my kids for a job that they're not qualified for. Maybe. 'Cause they'll probably be really, my kids are really smart, but that's kind of like the joke. Um, no, look, you know, as you start moving on into the brackets, you see how game the system is, for everybody else. And I'm, a typical blue collar guy, and I'm also not like a Ferrari, like, um, McMansion guy. One, and that's partly the benefit of my wife, who's super conservative with money, and so is her family, but has a lot of it. Um, and that's also served me. Uh, so, like, really, the only stuff I spend money on is Star Wars shit, right? And I'm not looking to take care of my kids. That's the other thing. I'm looking to take care of my grandkids. Um, and like that's really the only goal, but being in the market is just kind of fun. Most of my investing happens in the private market. Like I know some of like the tickers that ran um, the most in 2021, and they were small caps, were some that I was like an early investor on or a founding investor on. um,
Speaking of that and Ferraris, I interviewed Graham Farrar
yeah.
this week.
Yep, from Glass House.
Really like him
Yeah, he's a really
a
nice guy.
lot. And I also said on the show multiple times that he needs to do a like brand of mom weed. I really think this is like a billion
Yeah,
dollar
they had a
idea.
show called Weeds, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
brand was called MILF,
Yeah.
the MILF weed.
We talked about it for a long time. I was like, there's a whole marketing
Yeah,
plan
well,
here.
there's oddly enough, there's some brands like Whoopi Goldberg has a brand with a couple of other people, and it's for menopause and like your monthly visitor weed. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, all weed, I assume, would help you. I mean, like, you know, my wife and I went to Cambodia. We came back and we were like so dehydrated. My wife got kidney stones, and they prescribed her OxyContin. And she's like, "There's no way I'm taking OxyContin." She doesn't smoke weed. She's like, "Do you have any weed?" And I'm like, "Come on." And it really helped her, for like pain, like and
Yeah.
so
So I was talking to him about, as you know, I've been so vocal about it. If you are listening and you own a CBD company, let me represent you because it changed my freaking life. Like, I have a slip disc. I've hurt my back so many times, and CBD makes it so I can walk.
yeah,
And Graham and I were talking about like I almost got back surgery. It was so bad.
yeah.
CBD just fixed it, and now I have all the things, and I swear it helped me.
Yeah, I use a CBD and THC, like a balm. Like Tiger Balm. It's basically the same thing except it smells like weed. And yeah, I'll use it because I actually did what Bo Jackson did to his hip. Like I crunched the joint playing kickball at yeah at this place called Camp No Counselor. It's like a summer camp for adults. And I did this playing kickball because I didn't want to run into this girl. And I thought I pulled my groin. Come to find out, and I did this when I was like in my late 30s. And my doctor at Cleveland Clinic's like, you need a hip replacement. I was like, what? I need a partial hip replacement? So yeah, like the pain is sometimes like really debilitating, and it ends up affecting my back and everything.
Yep.
And yeah, like the weed stuff is great, you know. Um, but there's a lot of charlatans out there, which you should go to the weed conference in November. I'll
I
bring
mean,
you to every party. Uh,
you know how much I'd love it.
yeah,
I'm such a scenester. Like, I would love it.
Oh, I mean, all right. Well, there's a couple of ground rules when you're with me.
Okay, okay. Don't embarrass you.
Well, basically, don't ask because so like I'm not gonna like. All right, so one of my Twitter buddies um, was like, "Hey, what do you?" He was in Vegas, and I was like, I've known this guy on Twitter for years. I was like, "Oh, come hang out. Come in my room, and He's like, "Well, what are you doing tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to this thing and this thing and this thing," and he's like, "Well, I wasn't invited." I was like, "Dude, I go, I didn't even RSVP. I just walk up and just, go in. I go, I'm fucking Wolf of Weed Street. I'm like, this is my Super Bowl week, right? At this weed conference. And he's like, oh, that's Ricky Williams. He won the Heisman. I'm like, yeah, he's a friend. You want to go meet him? Yeah. Can you take a picture of us? I'm like, I was like, oh, look, that guy, that's the guy in the NBA. I'm like, dude, I've known him since he was 16, and I just walk away, and I'm like and with the same guy on our way to the party, I've got my mask on, like we're at the Aria, and all of a sudden this guy grabs me, and I was like, and it's Tim Seymour. Do you guys, know who Tim Seymour is?
No.
He's on Fast Money on CNBC.
Okay.
And so we're talking, and we're not even talking about, he's like, oh, when do you get in? And I was talking about, because I got an IV, like the first day I got there. And I'm like, oh, let me send you my IV guy. And then the guy was like, hey, can you take a picture of me? And I should have known. It's so embarrassing. So like when Hugh was with me, and we were in Orlando, because one of my really good friends from college is a stand-up comic, and he's on that show Billions. And thank God, I was like, just don't ask me to take a picture. It's so embarrassing. And thank God we didn't do that. But yeah, there's been a lot of times, and I'm like, I don't mind if you take pictures. I love it, but just don't ask me, because I don't know, it kind of bruises my ego a little bit.
Sure.
Like, oh, like, yeah, sometimes at a weed con, like, oh, can I take a picture of Wolf of Weed Street? I'm like, yeah, no problem. But then they're like, hey, can you take a picture of us? But yeah, that's the only ground rule. Don't ask me to take pictures of you with celebrities.
So, I don't, huge fan of weed. I don't really utilize weed. Big fangirl. And we were talking to Graham about that, and he was like, nobody dislikes weed. They just don't know, like, exactly what I'm mixing up what he said, but like, everyone likes weed. You just have to find, like, specifically what works for you.
Are you an indica? You're a sativa person? See, like, I used to smoke a ton of weed back in the day. Like, I had a 6-foot bong in college called the Green Mile. If you could clear it, you could sign it.
Wait, clear a 6-foot bong? Is there do you have lung capacity for that?
My lungs are still strong. It's amazing. I smoked so much weed in college that when we would clean like our pipes, I had a coffee table. It was a big puzzle of the almanac, and they were missing pieces. So we would put the resin in the pieces that were missing, and when we didn't have weed or couldn't get weed, we would smoke the resin. That's how. Yeah, we were like crackheads. But so I smoked a ton of weed, and then after college, I moved to Australia and started, and I was smoking weed over there. I was playing lacrosse for a team. Came back, still smoke weed, and then I moved to Florida, and I got hired by this company, and they drug tested.
Oh no!
It was like a really big company, and so I actually had to get my friend down here, his dad, to pee in a cup for me.
Yeah,
And
of course.
like, but so for years I couldn't smoke weed because I didn't want to lose this job. And then I left the job because I was pretty burned out, and then I started smoking weed. All of a sudden, like I would take a hit and be like blown out. And so even now, like I went to the weed conference, I didn't smoke the entire time. One, because I was working on like 3-4 hours of sleep every night. Um, Two, because like I do a lot of my like uh, investing, like while I'm there. So I always want to be clear headed. Um,
Yep.
and But I got like a ton of weed from all these people, and I just gave it to my dad, who smoked it in like 2 days. So, but yeah, like when my kids or my wife are gone, um, yeah, I'll just smoke a little bit of weed and then garden for like 3-4 hours, or like
That's
clean
not
my
the weed,
kitchen.
but the gardening. I'm so excited to get into that this afternoon. It's gardening season
Yeah,
here in Georgia.
look, I do it pre-market. Like I'd like tend like my backyard, or skim my pool. You want to do things that don't require much brain power, because at 9:30 you're going to be using all your brain power, and then at like 4 o'clock, um, it's the same thing. So it's always, my wife's like, "Oh, what do you want to have for dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't want to make any decisions." You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's the psychology of the market participant is one of the things that is um, so overlooked, and it's so very important. That trader psychology is everything. That's why in True Trading Group, trader psychology is the first thing that we give you. It's the first course, because it is so very important. And yeah, you know.
Totally. All right. Well, I am going to go over real quick these levels that I've invented how to do.
Uh-huh.
You can I'd love your opinion on how I'm doing this, and you can laugh at me. It's totally fine.
I'm not going to
All right.
laugh. Your results are good. Who cares?
Well, thank you. All right. So, I use this 4-hour chart, and then I have a snap. I change this to snap to the level. So then I just put a level at the top and the bottom of the body candle and the wicks. And I do this for the last day or two. And then my friend Ellis taught me that if one line is touched 3 times by either a wick or a body, then that's like a major support or resistance level. So those levels get a little bit more important than the other levels.
Can you zoom in?
I,
No. Okay, that's fine.
prob-
I was just wondering. So, how many supports are there? All those red lines are supports and resistance?
no, they're just levels that I like to kind of be aware of. They're not all support and resistance.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
can I and I can't even see.
Uh-huh.
Are those levels like around the 25-cent mark?
Let me look. Oh, I can see right over here. 6. So this one right here is $1. This right here is about 50 cents. This right here is also about 50 cents. This right here is 25 cents.
So that's just so the first one was like what, 175?
Yeah, 174.4.
174.
And then here's 175 right here.
Okay. So I always find that that area is always like think of it as like a truck moving downhill, and then, like in the mountains, they put sand just in case their brakes go out. I always look at that 25-cent area as like the sand to slow it down. But now, if I see Apple climbing, right, and I see it break the 80-cent area, and then it'll hit like 88, 87, 85, 87, 89, 93, and then usually that's when I'm getting out, okay? If I'm in puts. Now, if I'm in calls, I'm going to stay because it'll go and break, and then it's going to test that 25-cent area, and then it'll go like 25, 97, 14, 25, 26, 27, 30, 15, and then it's like kind of building. And so when I see that, I'm like, it is trying to go up. Now, how do you make a decision on that? Because you're like, it doesn't know what it's doing. I'll go and I'll immediately check the SPY. What is the SPY doing? Overlay it, always have the SPY. That's why it's always good to have the SPY up, like right
For
in front of you.
sure. And I was showing that at the beginning that always have these 3 or 6 charts up. Well, Lucid's just because, that's my favorite stock,
I know you like Lucid. I'm so glad I got you to stop trading that.
My common, I have my common shares come up to show my buy and sell orders, and my 2021 Lucid chart is like all red and green. You can't even see the chart underneath. There's so many it's my favorite stock. Anywho, so I've got these levels. Here's one more. So let's put it on the 1 minute. So one thing I learned that I used to do, and this is super embarrassing that I used to do this, but I would get just like terrible entries because basically I would buy a put right there is always how I used to trade. Mm-hmm. And then it would bounce and then I would lose. And it took me a long time to understand. And I know that people say buy support, sell resistance. I understand that, and I had heard that, but I always thought that it would come down to this key level and then break and you'd get a huge move down. So I always try to wait for, if I'm in calls, that's today. I always try, if I want to buy calls, then I'm going to try to buy on a red candle, and I'm going to try to buy when it gets as close to the whole wave as possible. So this is not a fantastic example.
I like what you're doing. You want my honest feedback?
Yes, hold on 1 second. So this would be obviously a fantastic entrance for calls, but it used to be that that's where I would buy puts. I was just doing it wrong. And it, for a little while, was feeling so uncomfortable to me to buy because I'd basically be looking for, in my mind, for a I was going to try to bet on a reversal. But the more that I have gotten used to getting good entries, I'm not even worried about it anymore because the risk is so low. So if I took calls here, then I would just sell as soon as a 5-minute candle broke below and closed broke below, and then the candle closed below that level. I would just be gone, and the risk is tiny because you're getting it right at that level.
Got it.
Anyway, your turn.
I think you're overcomplicating it.
Okay.
And this is why, and this is exactly why I don't do this. So you want to know what my indicators are?
Sure.
Can you take a guess?
View out.
Not really. I mean, sometimes I kind of see it on the 5 minute. I use the MACD, the RSI, and yeah, like what the intraday VWAP is.
I have no idea what MACD is.
Um, I mean, I don't even know what it stands for. But it's like moving average. Um, you study it. Basically, it.
Look it up.
Basically, yeah, Google that shit. Yeah, so I use the hourly MACD and the daily MACD, and that'll kind of give me, you'll start to see when it starts to turn, when it starts to go strong. Now I'll look at like a 5-day chart of the MACD. All right, so like at the bottom of this scoop, right? Say I can see the MACD just curling over the red line. Think of it as like like a golden cross or something, right? Um, it's something like that. And then I'll see, okay, when the MACD makes this crossover, how long does it last? Usually in this stock. And if I want to zoom out further, I go to the 1 month, right? So Apple, can you throw like the
Yes.
MACD on there?
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Go to studies. Yeah, go to.
I think it's edit studies, right?
I don't know. I do this on my
Yeah.
phone. All right.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, go to like MACD, like.
Here.
There you go.
Ariel, if you're still watching, this is all you. Oh, and for those of you asking about the whole wave, that's where I added the whole wave. All right, there's MACD. So MACD is something that goes down near
Yeah,
RSI.
what is it?
Oh, I did
1229 exponential. It doesn't matter. Just pick one. We're just gonna yeah.
Just say apply.
Yeah, just apply.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now
It did two. Oh, here we go. Cancel. Apply. Okay. All right. Got the MACD on
okay,
here.
and what are you on? Are you on a daily?
No, let me put. There we go.
All right. So look on the 14th.
Yep.
You see that? See those red bars? So okay,
Uh-huh.
Apple's going down. Apple's going down. Now, all right, those bars are getting smaller, and you're moving towards the green. See?
Got it. Yep.
Now, see how it's flattening out? That's when I
Uh-huh.
start looking at buying puts on something longer time frame.
Here, where the pencil is.
Yeah, I mean, look, once that you see like you got the big green bar, like the neon
Uh-huh.
green bar,
Yes.
which is basically the 30th, right there.
Here.
Yeah.
Yep.
As soon as I start to see it curve, that's when I'm looking at getting puts.
Well, also it corresponds so beautifully with this RSI.
Well, that's the other part that I was going to add. So that's why I only use the RSI and the MACD.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not trying to simplify. I'm trying to simplify it. Now, if I'm just getting into a position intraday, this stuff doesn't really bother me too much, but I'm not really leaning puts when I'm seeing like this type of move, which is basically 11 straight, green candles.
Right.
But the MACD is going to tell you a lot. Like, take a look at Palantir. I bet Palantir is starting to curve. It's PLTR.
This is the one that you told me
Right.
to trade. Oh. Why is this happening? PLTR. Am I doing this right?
Palantir? Yeah. Like, can you just type in the name? PAL ANTER, I think. No, I guess that's not how you spell it.
PLTR.
Go PLTR.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Now let's go to. There you go. All right. You see? Now look at everything. What is it? Like if you go to like three. Let's look at the cross. You know.
Here.
Oh, that's January. Well, I'm trying to look at the month. Basically, the end. What was that? The middle of February. You know it. So that's like when Kathy
Right
Wood.
here.
Yeah, that's like when Kathy Wood was dumping from ARC. All right. So a lot of that was, artificial selling, and then the MACD just kind of hugged that line and never broke. Right. The RSI was steady. It didn't get crazy. It ended up breaking through resistance. You know, this was something that I have $11 September calls in.
Oh, wow.
You know, so you can kind of see. But again, part of that is not just the chart; it's the idea, and those longer term ideas are really going to pay you more. Like,
Yeah.
you remember the first stock I told you to buy? The first option?
Wasn't it US Steel?
No, it was AG.
AG.
You bought it at $9.67. Take a look at AG right now. You're going to throw up.
Huh.
You had March 4th calls. And this is why you stick with ideas.
Why is this happening?
It's First Majestic Silver, so you'll see.
There we go.
So you basically, look at that bottom tick.
This 9 right here.
Yeah. Well, you got 963. So, which was, I want to say February. Yeah, you were February is when I told you to buy it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back to when it was 963? So under $10. And then you can see why I said to buy it. So it's two parts why.
Uh-huh.
One part inflation, and there's going to be a rush to commodities like silver. Okay, two, the setup was just there. Now look,
Totally.
if you got, where was it on March 4th? Look at the price by March 4th.
Right there. You see the line?
Yeah, what's the price? $12?
Yeah.
So your calls would have been up like 200%. Now, if on a longer date, you would have made even more money.
Yep.
Because
look at how so I like the whole wave, which must be a component of MACD, right? They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could add things to the MACD. There's an oscillator and all this other shit. But again, I'm not trying to overcomplicate it. And remember, I'm also doing this on my phone.
Yeah.
Right? Because, here's the thing about, like, when there's all these lines on a chart, sometimes it's going to keep you from getting into trades. If you are basically gaming out your ideas between 4 o'clock and 9:30 the next morning, then like the chart's going to aid you in that. But you're basically just kind of running through scenarios. And at the core, it's, why do I want to buy this? Why would I want to buy this for it to go up? Why would I want to buy this to go short? And then you do it via puts or calls, or you actually can, buy the stock if you want, or short the stock.
The other day when I was on Pennies Going in Raw, they asked me if I ever shorted the stocks, and I was like, no, I don't have a big enough account, which is insane because when I first started trying to short stocks, I was trying to short penny stocks, which are hard to borrow. And then I was like, oh, I could short Apple anytime I want it. You know, like that. Apple's not hard to borrow. But, you know, I felt kind of dumb when that episode came out. I was like,
Yeah.
Gotta switch the mindset there, Blayne.
So yeah, sometimes you do. So now, like, do you like this? Like, watch a couple videos on the MACD.
Interesting.
You'll find it really interesting, and you know you can tighten it up to like hourly, 5-day. Like I like 3-minute. You know, like if you're just kind of day trading, like the 3 and 15-minute charts, and then you use volume as your main indicator. Like Mike, my partner Mike at True Trading Group, he says like if he only had one indicator to use, it would always be volume, like hands down. You know, for me, it would be the MACD. You know, and then with like the MACD and the RSI is really easy to understand, right?
Totally.
You know, like Apple Trade was really easy. Like if everybody goes and they think about it, okay? If let's say all the people watching, all the people listening, if you were in Vegas, okay, say all of us, we're partying, we're smoking weed because it's legal. We're not taking pictures, asking me to take pictures with celebs.
Nope, we're not doing that.
And we go to a roulette table, all right? And they always say, always bet on black. But 11 times in a row, red comes up, all right? And probably after like the 5th time, we're still betting black. We're still betting black. At the 11th time, we might start getting a little bit more aggressive because we know that eventually that is going to have to crack.
Right.
It's the same thing with Apple. Like 11 days in a row, and we were heading into the end of the quarter, making it the easiest put in the market, and also making the SPY the easiest put. I put up a tweet March 24th. Okay, I wish you could pull it up, and show it.
No, I think I can.
Okay, I'll send it.
Because you're on my tweet deck.
Oh, so hold on, I'll show you this. All right, let me pull it up for you.
I can't. You tweet a lot.
I'm gonna
to March 24th.
I'm gonna send it to you. I'll send it to your DM,
Okay.
and then if you want, you
Okay.
can just show it. All right, now I got the dates wrong because I wasn't looking at a calendar, but the date is right in terms of what we're talking about. End of the quarter. All right, ready? All right, I just sent it to your DM.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I'll read it. Unpopular opinion, and this is the 24th of March. Unpopular opinion. Apple is being used as a proxy by funds, etc., to juice the market. It was like short SPY before the quarter end. Before the quarter ends, go short 331 Monday. Protect your bonds. It's diversify your bonds, but protect your bonds, implying the yield curve. Okay, so and then I highlighted that on Tuesday and said Apple, Tesla, and SPY are going to be like the easiest shorts. Just kind of a reminder. Now, that had nothing to do with looking at a chart.
Yeah.
It all had to do with understanding quarterly rebalances and fuckery in the market.
Yeah.
You know? It also, like, if I was just for me, I was just going off of that. All right, I was short.
Uh-huh.
I was short the SPY at 462. I had 460 puts for April 14th. Also had 455s and 459s. Aggressively in those. So aggressive I couldn't take a picture of my percentage gain because I was like, just sell. But it also matches up with everything that you're seeing chart wise,
Yep.
you know? And when you can fuse those together, like ideas and chart, it's kind of like Happy Gilmore learning how to putt.
Yep. So here's March 24th.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you could have gone, and I talked about this when Apple was, what was the price? March 24th?
It was 173.30.
Yeah. So I was talking about this on Kenny Powers Spaces
Kenny.
when Apple was 157. So you could have caught this whole move into the end of the quarter and then gone short, which
Yep.
is what I should have done.
Somebody said to me on Twitter, like I was having, basically I traded all of that, right?
Yeah.
And someone was like, well, it happened to be like the easiest time ever to trade Apple. I'm like, don't take away from my accomplishments. It's not my fault it was on a run.
I mean, but also, you could also learn by like just if you had stayed in some of those calls.
Sure.
Kept one, which I fully support. If you want to keep one that's entirely profit and you've already covered the other 150, keep one like I'm all for that, because you also have to learn to do that and see ideas through. So like on my 460 SPY puts, I wanted to have at least 5 contracts, my lowest contracts, which were at 502, to tweet by 414, because my expectation is that they would just be blown out. So I put a good till cancel on those 5 contracts at $10, and I was like hanging out. I was just having a beautiful day because I was short a lot of things. I exited a bunch of calls, and then we got that SPY like Thursday at like 3:30, where it broke 456, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And I'm like watching this thing go up, and I'm like taking screenshots, and I'm like, holy shit, this thing's going fucking nuts. And I'm like, okay. So I start selling, right? So now I'm selling contracts, like over 50%, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm to my limit. And it was like one more candle, and all of a sudden my phone goes off. And I was like, no! It sold off at 10. I don't know what the point was of this story. I was getting so excited being back in that moment. But, to see the ideas through, so yesterday I had 450 calls for Monday on the SPY.
Okay.
I paid $1.88 for them. Paid $1.88 for them. They were, last I checked, $4. I made $500 on them.
I like that.
Yeah.
So if you guys can see on this SPY chart, I haven't done the levels the last couple of days, but I do like to look at the levels on SPY and Apple because they correspond so much.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are older drawings, but
yeah. So this is all great, but it's also good. Like day trading's fun.
Totally.
For building up your account, but now you have to start thinking of the ideas of the future. Where are you going to be in the summer? Volume drops down. Now, if the yield curves invert and stay inverted, what does that mean? Okay, well, generally on the shorter time frame, it doesn't mean much. On a longer time frame, it means it has meant recession. Like of the last couple of recessions, it's been the signal. Think of it as the canary in the coal mine. So what does that mean for everybody? what sectors get hit. Okay, well, cyclicals do well. But consumer discretionary doesn't do so well, right? So basically Amazon, Tesla, all these things. Now, nobody wants to buy puts on Amazon, right? Because they're ridiculously expensive. I won't even touch puts. I just buy stock and trade the stock. And even then, I'm like, this is like buying 10 contracts. Um, you buy like 20 shares of Amazon. You're like, this is crazy. But if you don't want to buy puts and you think and you believe in an idea like this, so that consumer discretionary gets hit during a recession, there is a proxy put for it, and that's XLY. And XLY right now
Yes.
is like $185. Oh yeah, I told you guys I was in an XLY put when it was like 172, and it dropped down to like 163. And I thank God I got out of that put because it was an April 14th put, and it went all the way up to 195 with this latest move. But consumer discretionary would be a good short, you know, in a recession. So start thinking about things like that. And then it's like, okay, well, where can you park your money? Everybody's going to be talking about gold and junior gold miners and all that shit. You want to be in those trades now, and you want to be in them via stock. I think you wait for a pullback, and these are good things to use as profit positions. The same way I was using banks and energy in the summer of COVID, because I knew that they would become really good trades or really good sells at some point. You have to start looking at it like that. Now, it's very hard to do that normally, right? It's hard to do that with your money. Meaning, like, hey, I put $1,000 in my account. I'm going to buy $1,000 of this gold and watch it move up like 5 cents a day. It's not tenable, and I'm realistic and understand that. But if I'm on the other side of a trade that you won, meaning I lost, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy you 50 shares of this, 10 shares of that, 2 shares, whatever it is. But you got to see the idea through. You're going to be like, hell yeah, it's free. Start doing that. I promise you, your account will go like this, because I stopped gambling at that point, where I was like, I was trading Roku. I was trading Roku really, really heavy and having like the craziest month. I had one day trading Roku options where I had big size, and the option went 1,000%, and I made like $132,000. And I was like, and I put all of that money into like pot stocks. The next day it went up another 1,000%. The contract, and where it ended up, the contract ended up being worth, so I left like $1 million on the table on that. And I'm completely fine with it because I would have gambled it. I would have done something stupid with it. And when I put it into where I put it, those things all boomed, and that's the safer bet because like those unicorn trades are going to happen. But longevity wise, you'll make more money, buying something at, let's say, I'm in the psychedelic company that I think is $100 stock. It's at 5 right now.
That's the thing I want to invest in more than anything.
Yeah, buy a Thai Life Sciences, easy, ATAI. Like I already told, I'm a founder of Cybin, which is on the NYSE. Look, people just don't understand them. These things are going to have their run.
It's going to be so game changing.
Yeah, and now's the time to invest when nobody understands. Kathy Wood is buying a Thai, like hand over fist. She's like, nobody understands it.
Nobody understands.
So
it's weed 15 years ago, but better.
Yeah.
All right, I am about to have to go, but I want to wrap up by saying I'm getting DMs all day, every day. You're getting DMs. What are the rules of the Apple Challenge? Or we're not calling it the Apple Challenge, really. I've
I
called
mean,
it the
you
Apple
called it
Challenge.
the Apple Challenge.
I've
Now
called it the Apple Challenge.
I have to name this the Apple Challenge.
I mean,
honestly, I do this with a wide range of stocks for different people and to their strengths, or I tend to go with lower volatility. So I was doing this with US Steel when US Steel was $5. Now US Steel is 38. I don't feel comfortable doing it. So, look, the rules are you're basically like, I'm not going to go too deep into the rules because it'll upset a lot of people if I do. Um,
no
the-
problem.
yeah, the crux of it is, and something that I explain and go into greater detail is every step, whether when you're $50, $100, $150, 200 and 250, and those are the waves. You stay on them for 2 weeks in the beginning, like all the way to 150, and then you can do like a week at 200, and then you try and do 2 weeks at 200. All right. Each one of those steps, it's not about the money, and people get lost on like, oh, I have to make this amount of money. Like the first step, for example, is learning patience and getting in. Also managing losses, like that's the key. And then once you mastered that, or come closer to that, now you've got to test it out at 100, and it's the same things. And now you're adding, okay, tiering out of your position and maybe stretching it, staying a little bit longer. And when you start doing that, whether it's $50, $100, what you'll find is you try and make 50, you make 75, you make 100. You try and make 100, you make 200, 300, whatever. And I'm sure that's something that you saw.
Yeah,
And
I was trying to make 150 yesterday, made 250, wasn't trying to, just made a good trade. And
Yeah.
I was like, I think it's not quite time to get out.
Right. And that's the thing, like you can tier out of your position. Like, okay, look, once you get to 150, you should be out of 75% of your position. That way you don't give it back. And you should be raising your stop at that point.
For sure.
So let's say on that last contract, you're up $100. All right. Well, don't make it more than 50. You don't want to give back more than 50 because that's also going to teach you. And never take it to like break even. And if it goes under 50, don't say, oh, I'll just wait for it to go back to 50, because then it'll be 25. And then you'll be saying, all right, I'll just wait for 25 to go back to 50,
Yep.
Just get out. Take the money and wait, because the whole thing that got you there is waiting for that setup. And you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, right? So
Kenny Rogers.
That's right.
My mom sold his house. I met him in person. Great man.
My dad gets mistaken for Kenny Rogers all the time.
Oh,
He looks exactly like Kenny Rogers.
I love that. Kenny Rogers is so cool.
Yeah. So
it was really, and a fantastic photographer.
Oh. So yeah, so like, look, part of the challenge is basically thinking of like the first Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio. I have you wax on and wax off, and you're like, what the F am I doing? Right? And then all of a sudden I throw a punch at you and you block it. And you're like, holy shit, did I just become a trader? That's it. That's it in a nutshell. But until I have that conversation with you one-on-one, it's going to just really be in one ear and out the other. Because you need to be and this is something I said to you. Like, I'm sure you've heard stuff like this before, but until I actually say your name and tell you to put it into practice, you're not going to do it. And that's just...
Well, it corresponded so beautifully to me being at a point where I was going to give up. Right. If you'd said it to me a month before, I think I would have been like, yeah, but I'm going to keep doing it my way. It's the right place, right time, right words.
Well, also, part of the challenge was also for me, because I like to win. Like, that's it. I just like to win. And like, if I could do anything in my dream job right now would be to just coach lacrosse, like, more so than trading anything. I don't need money. I don't care about money. I do like to create champions. So, and it's fun. And also I know like you're going out and you're sharing that knowledge, and it's really impactful. And when you start getting older in your life, and this is something I would have never said in my 20s, this stuff ends up mattering, because this is the stuff that people will remember. And helping you is as much about helping me as, on the same level, right? Because it's good for me, but also I don't know everything. And sometimes, like they say, like, those that can't do teach. Like I've been in that situation a lot of times where I'm like, why am I not following the advice that I give other people? Like I think I know better, So
Yeah.
and you need to a lot of times take a leap of faith. And trusting people in the market is, it's really tough because there's always an ulterior motive, right? They want you to get into this stock. Um, So yeah, I think that yeah. Look, one also, I consider you a friend, so I didn't want you to like. I didn't think that one. Like I knew you shared your P&L. I didn't think that you were going to be sharing and that it would take off like this, right? Because this is something that I've done for the last 2 years. With people trying to learn options and be consistently profitable. Um, yeah, it's strong. And now I see people that they're sticking to it and they're loving it and
People are doing so
they're
good.
making so much money. So you know what? All of you guys listening, you are also going to have to hire my kids for a job that they're not doing. So,
Well, I wanted, first of all, I said this on Pennies Going Raw, and of all the kind of hardest times in my life, I had some really hard times in art, and I've just had some hard times. And the thing that really keeps me going is when someone believes in me more than I'm able to believe in myself at the time. So honestly, you having sort of the confidence to talk through it with me and made me really believe that I could do it. That was the thing,
yeah.
right? It's just like, I respect you and you're my friend, and you just having confidence in me when I couldn't have it in myself was...
Well, you asked me too. I remember you
Absolutely.
and out of nowhere, it was like and you were like, "Did you think I could do this?" And I was like, 1,000%. As long as I go, but you had to take a leap of faith and stick to the plan. And
Totally.
and that's the hard. Honestly, that first step is the hardest part for people because you're fighting all of your bad habits every single day. Like, oh, I got this money, I want to spend it, right?
Yeah.
It's like walking you into a casino, putting a couple $100 in your pocket, and be like, "I'll see you in a couple of hours, but don't gamble." What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're basically just gonna be walking around and that's it. You're in the market. You're looking at all these stocks, and you're like, I need to break the rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and that's tough, but that's also part of the process. We're breaking you.
Totally.
So yeah.
I think I want to very much make clear the point. I think that people think that you told me something like the Apple challenge, you buy calls every time it gets to VWAP, or so. I think people think that you told me a secret thing,
there is
and
no
that
secret.
was the Apple. There was no secret. The secret, not to be corny, but the secret was me, right? I'm showing you how I did this on my trades, and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense to me, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That was all in me, or whatever. It builds confidence in me because you didn't tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
But
I just gave you parameters.
Right, and I think that's what people want to know. What's the Apple thing?
Yeah.
But they're...
Yeah, and I'll say, there is no magic bullet, right? You could make things bulletproof, but there is no magic bullet. Okay, I don't have a secret code, cheat code for the market. I don't have like a secret scanner. I'm not using options flow. Um, I'm just keeping it simple, and I'm trying to cut down on as much noise as possible. And everybody, and I see this every day, is looking for a magic bullet. They're looking for that cheat code, and it doesn't exist. The cheat code is so I would actually make cheat sheets in high school and college. I would never use them. You know why? Because
You learn what you
in
needed to
putting the
know.
detail together, it would end up getting committed to memory. So I was hiding the answers in my head, right? Which is basically studying. So I was tricking myself into learning something. Um, that's what like you have to do that in the market, right? Like focus on your ideas, focus on, don't chase shiny object. Oh, AMC's running GameStop. I need to get in on that, right? You're too
Mm-hmm.
late. You need to already
Mm-hmm.
be in that,
Yeah.
okay? Because those things come and go. You're going to end up being in one of those runners, I promise you. I'll tell you, if you're not going to be in one of those runners, or your chances diminish greatly, is if you're trying to trade 50 different things based off of like some guru, um, tweet something or whatever, and you get this volume spike out of nowhere. Like when there's those volume spikes, you're being sold into. Um, so like, the whole thing is like, all right, you got to start and be consistent, and you need your new day one, essentially,
Yep.
you know?
I used to say on the podcast and all the time that being stuck in a halt was the best feeling in the entire market.
Un-
Um,
Until
I'm gonna rephrase that and say that like now making one good trade and hitting that daily goal and shutting it down, like that's the best feeling. I have control over myself. I have like locked in those profits. And usually when I tweet my results, I take my first trade usually at 9:45. I'm done by 10:15, 10:30. I tweet my P&L, I shut down my computer. I have my life. I got the rest of the day. I'm not a slave to anymore to let me just sit here and
do you
it's
let me ask you a question. When you get that dopamine hit, is there a song playing in your head ever?
oh how interesting.
Because I always have some kind of music in my head, like when I'm trading, and I
Yeah.
might not even be listening, you know, like
Well, there's a soundtrack in my head 100% of the time, but it's different. It's not like
yeah,
one specific
yeah,
song, but
like
all 100% in here constantly.
yeah. So sometimes, like if I'm like crushing it, like I'm singing like Hall and Oates in my head, you know,
Love it.
like what's that song? Oh, you make my dreams come true. What I want, you got, and it might be hard. Like and like I'm just cut. Like and when the music starts playing in your head, you're you're completely clear, right? And then at the end of the day, I always say like I'm Fred Flintstone, like sliding down the back of a brontosaurus. And
Just
that's like, yeah, like I'm done. Like that's it. Like I'm happy. Like I can't wait for tomorrow. But those good days are so positive for your mental health, and you really have to be, like as much as you need to take care of your account, you also need to take care of yourself,
totally.
because the burnout factor is huge. Like my wife
And
doesn't even want me trading anymore, um, and it's not because she doesn't believe in me or anything. One, she's just kind of she's like, why don't we just keep investing in private companies. She's like, you make so much, our returns are night and day. And it's, like I like that dopamine hit. I like the daily competition. But I have to, be cognizant of that, and you need to be able to shut down. So yeah, I didn't think you asked me if I wanted to do this, and I was like, no. And then you got me with Star Wars. Justin got me with Star Wars talk.
You haven't met Justin before, I don't think.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, he's the best. I wish he had stayed longer, but he's looking at houses. He's my brother-in-law. He's married my sister.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And we both started trading during COVID, went to the beach, got a little drunk, and we're like, have you seen this? Like, and just talked stocks for 5 hours, and then was like, I think we need a podcast.
Yeah, me too. I need a podcast.
Yeah, but you need what I need. I want to come in and be the talent, and then I need to sort of wash my hands of it because all the details
I don't have time for all that other stuff. And,
right.
I have talked to some, so I have been approached by, like a big agency, and they're like, we have a whole podcast division, and it's like, it's William Morris Endeavor. And I'm like, oh.
I mean, obviously you could be like, I'm not interested, but I got this friend.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, no, I'm a hired gun. You just put me, and then I talk. So. Yeah. But anyway, hey, this was fun. Thanks.
It was so fun. I love how it just happened.
Yeah, it kept me from doing a million things around my house. So.
Tell your wife I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. All right.
Well, I hope I get to meet your wife one day. I think I'm really
sure
gonna like her.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's a better investor than me by far.
Have a great Saturday.
All right, you too, Blayne.
Bye.
Bye.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane podcast. The Penny Lane podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.